Suppose I take your evidence to the police.
Von mir aus gehen Sie zur Gasanstalt. Auf mich lassen Sie aus mit der Polizei.
Now, hold on.
Ich schaut mir davon, wenn man freundlich ist zu den Ausländern. Hätte ich nur auf meine Frau gehört. Die hat mir gleich gesagt, die Hand von der Putten, du verbrennst dir nur deine Finger. I have no evidence. I saw nothing, I said nothing. It's not my business.
We'll make it your business.
Tell me your name. What's the matter? Come on. Philip. Philip? Philip what?
Yes.
That's all. Come on. It's a bit long, isn't it? You want a haircut?
I have always liked you, but you must not bring this gentleman again. You must go at once, please. Please, sonst vergesse mein wienerischen Charme. Please.
Carol Reed is up there with the masters of the cinema.
Pictures were his life.
He must be in the top group of world-class directors.
Although best remembered for his works of the late 1940s, the British director Carol Reed had a long and varied career in the cinema which spanned 40 years and 34 films, beginning in the 1930s. Once hailed as Britain's greatest director and revered as a master craftsman, he would try his hand at any story that took his interest.
Those three films that he made at the peak of his powers, Third Man, Fallen Idol and Odd Man Out, are enormously powerful. And they have this sense of doom, a sense of lost love. In all his films, there was an aesthetic and a sense of composition and structure and space in which he set the films. And within that, there was this very warm humanity that came from the actors.
His experience in the theatre certainly provided him with a profound understanding and appreciation of actors.
Reed was the illegitimate son of Herbert Beerbohm Tree, a celebrated Edwardian actor-manager who founded Her Majesty's Theatre in London. Beerbohm Tree maintained the Reeds as a second family under his mistress May Pinney.
When Carol talked about his family in Wimbledon, the parallel family that was maintained by Sir Herbert Beerbohm Tree, it was always with very fond memory.
I don't think he was ashamed of it. I think he was probably quite proud to have a dad who was such a distinguished actor. I was enchanted to see the portrait of Sir Beerbohm Tree. That is a spitting image of Carol.
He was the ultimate actor-manager, Beerbohm Tree, and I read his life story as an inspiration for the kind of man that gets things done. He just didn't want to do things, he made them happen. Directed all the plays he wanted. He didn't go around asking managements if they would let him do his Lear. He did his Lear, he did the lot. And I think that's probably where Carol got his managerial quality, his directing ability came from his father.
Carol Reed would watch his father with his fellow actors at work. This upbringing, along with his early experience as an actor and a stage manager, would give him a lifelong affinity with actors.
Carol was incredibly sensitive to actors. I was doing Oliver. I was on the set of this magnificent film with a huge budget, and I didn't actually believe I was cast. I was very insecure. And Carol must have sensed this because he was very, very attentive and very concerned.
I mean, it's very lonely out there in front of the cameras at 8:30 in the morning. You've got no audience, you've got to play to the director. So I think he was very wise in terms of how he treated actors.
He was taking care of them, and he was giving them a setting in which they could express themselves, express emotion.
Carol had tremendous heart. He knew he could always see the reflection of the firing squad in an actor's eyes before the actor became aware.
Odd Man Out featured James Mason in what he later recalled as a personal favourite of all his roles. He plays Johnny, a wounded gunman on the run. Set in Belfast, the film's story takes place over the last 8 hours of Johnny's life. Reed secured the rights to the F.L. Green novel, with whom he then worked closely on the screenplay.
Hold on, who are you? What do you want? What are these people doing here? Who are they, eh?
I wouldn't like to interfere with that. We must get him to the hospital.
Did I bring you to the police court in my car? Come on, get out. You're not going to stay here.
You're all right, chum.
I'll wait for you, John.
There's that little rat.
Here we see Reed's first collaboration with cinematographer Robert Krasker. Together they managed to create a visually striking aesthetic.
He never criticised an actor or an actress at all. It was never their fault if anything went wrong.
And I remember when I got my first film to direct, I went to Carol, who in many ways was my mentor, and said, Carol, can you give me any tips? I'm just about to direct my first film. And Carol said, yeah, I'll give you 2 tips. He said, never humiliate an actor, and never cut until they've exited frame.
I was usually the butt of the problems. He'd play a scene, he'd cut halfway through it and turn to me and say, Oz, a light's flickered. And I'd say, oh yes, Carol, I'm sorry about that. Or on another occasion he'd say, Oz, I've cut it, it's too dark in that corner, isn't it? And I'd say, yes, I'm sorry, I'll alter it. I'd walk on the set, kick a lamp and come out again. They never were told that they'd made a mistake. He didn't want to upset them in any shape or form.
He used to carry a nail in his pocket. And if a scene had gone sour, he would drop the nail and say, cut, can we have quiet, please? And when he'd cut, he'd go up and whisper to an actor and say, since we've stopped, do you think we could do it slightly more subtly, or something like that? But he didn't humiliate the actor.
He had this wonderful way of looking at you all the time, and you knew that he was seeing what you were like on the screen. And he would say, less, less. And I knew that I was being too stagey, and I had to get the film actor's truth into the eyes rather than into the size.
He usually let an actor have his own head and play it as he thought he should play it. And Carol very seldom gave you any actual acting direction unless you veered so far away from what he wanted.
None of that kind of neurotic stress that some directors emanate. He was always relaxed and smiling, and the kids responded to this. And so there was a terrific sense of freedom on the set.
He gave you the confidence, I think, from the word go, and let you do what you were going to do. He only stopped you if he didn't like what you were going to do. So to that extent, that makes an actor feel very free.
Carol taught me that everybody in the picture is as important as the star, was treated with the same respect, time spent on, and by God, it paid off.
Sie? Hallo? What's a bisschen? Hallo, Moment mal. Bleib's doch stehen hier.
He was wonderful with children. I mean, Bobby Henry's performance in Fallen Idol was brilliant.
Why don't you let Vince take me for a walk?
Because I say so.
I hate you.
Master Philip, you'll say you're sorry for that.
I'm not sorry.
The Hungarian film mogul Alexander Korda teamed Reed up with the writer Graham Greene to adapt Greene's own short story, The Basement Room. The Fallen Idol is the story of a French diplomat's son who lies to defend his best friend, Baines the butler, played by Ralph Richardson. The film featured impressive London location work, Vincent Corder's brilliant sets, and photography by seasoned French cameraman Georges Perrinal. However, it is best remembered for the central performance of the unknown young actor Bobby Henry.
Here was a child who'd been brought up in France, had a little bit of a French accent when he spoke English. He couldn't act his way out of a paper bag. Much worse was his attention span, which was of a demented flea.
Phil, what are you doing here?
I saw you through the window.
Ralph Richardson wouldn't appear with him, very rightly so, because to stand there, and the camera's there, onto the child, now say, "Can we go for a walk, Baines?" And you say, "Can we go and look at his two favourite electricians?" You say, "Very good, Bobby, but look at Ralph." I mean, we used to do thousands of feet to get one line. It was agony. The good side was the way Carroll got this child to act naturally. He'd watch Bobby play with a piece of string. So he'd give him a piece of string, and he was quite unconscious that he got the string because he was used to playing with a piece of string.
No. This is just friendly conversation. We are friends, aren't we?
No.
Well, anyway, you didn't have a picnic downstairs last night with anybody.
No.
I put up the notice.
No.
Carroll was running out of tricks for the child, and he suddenly said, "Guy, get a conjurer." I said, "What?" He said, "A conjurer. I mean, tomorrow we'll do some close shot of Bobby." And it was magical because Bobby Henry, after sort of 12, 14 weeks, is getting bored, very bored, and his concentration is gone. And this strange gentleman suddenly looked at him and said, "Is your name Bobby?" And he's looking for help, and he says, "Yes." He said, "Well, I got something for you. Look." And he started to do tricks, and the child can't believe it. And he says, "Which hand's it in?" And about 10 minutes before we say we run out of film, magical expressions.
Hello, Sonny. What are you up to? Out a bit late, aren't you, Sonny? What's your name, Sonny? Come here. Here.
Very, very few directors would have that patience.
I once heard Bobby Henry talk about the experience of being directed by Carroll, and he said he didn't really sort of remember a huge amount about it. It was all a sort of magic experience for him, and he couldn't really answer why it was that he'd given such a performance. So it struck me that Carroll was a sort of conjurer. He had a sort of magician's ability with children.
He loved working with child actors. And I think that's the main reason why he did Oliver.
His treatment of little Oliver, who was 8 years old, how did he get this boy to give this angelic performance? Well, first he got his confidence. He used to go into Oliver's room and showing card tricks. He used to show these all the time to Oliver and gain his confidence.
With musicals, the track is laid and recorded beforehand, and the person that's recorded then has to mime to his or her own voice. Well, little Oliver, he was quite good at this, and we're trying to do his number. And of course, aircraft were coming in over the top of us. Every so often, the kid would just sing, but look up at the aeroplane, which is understandable. Well, this drove Carroll up the wall. He was getting very cross with him, but he knew he couldn't do that because he's only 8 or 9 years old. If he cut, he would he would sort of joke about it to the boys, and they'd think it was a game. In their eyes, they were getting it right, but he knew that it wasn't right.
He would do an awful lot of reaction shots. He wouldn't do acting shots, which is where two people are working together. He'd do a reaction shot on the boy's face, get the best angle, the best look, and then say, now look happy, now look sad, now frightened.
He became a child if he was directing him in for a reaction shot or something. You looked at Mark and you looked at Carroll, and every tiny expression was reflected in his face.
He would talk him through the scene. If he had lines to say, he'd talk him through that. So there's very little actual acting from Oliver between him and somebody else. It's all reaction. I think that was Carroll's main technique.
I can tell you a lot about directing with children. I believe that you have to bring the child into the character. Now, whether the child walks in this way or that way, which you liked at the beginning when you first engaged him, doesn't really spoil the idea that he's still a murderer or he's a thief or he's something, you know. But get to know them, and then to imitate him to himself. Imitate him and ask him to do this. But really what you're saying is, do what I do, without him knowing. It's what he does ordinarily.
I don't remember why.
He was a wicked director, wicked in the nicest possible way. He wanted to keep complete control of everybody.
He liked it. In his observations, I mean, he had this flat in Cannes, but the point about it was that he was about 3 or 4 floors up, and it looked down on the marketplace. But he used to sit there with binoculars and sort of watch everything that's going on and imagine the conversation. I mean, his imagination is terrific.
We've been alone all day, Baines.
We'll be together, Phil. Is Misty still? The cat's been out all night. There she is, sniffing round the railings. There's Doris shaking the mats out. It's a great life if you don't weaken.
It's early, isn't it?
It's going to be a long day, Phil.
He was just totally dedicated to making the film. During the shooting period, he'd never have any lunch. He'd go into the cutting rooms with the editor and look at the previous day's material and get the editor to do a rough assembly. Pimpy, his wife, was very, very long-suffering lady. They were very fond of each other. When he was making a movie, he must have been pretty impossible. She'd come onto the stage, watch him shooting, and he wouldn't go and acknowledge her. And then when lunchtime came, he would ignore her completely. She wanted to be there, and he didn't mind her being there as long as she accepted that he would ignore her. And this went on all the time. It was just total dedication to that movie.
Carroll liked his name as a producer because he would determine the cast, You Leave Me Alone. But if ever Alex said, I mean, I think Noel Card is a silly idea, why you not have so-and-so, Carroll would listen. Alex Corder had directed more films than Carroll, David Lean and I put together. Orson Welles on The Third Man was an example that Carroll decided that he wanted him for Harry Lime.
Harry!
Selznick said, absolutely no way. Orson Welles is box office poison. I would rather shoot myself than so-and-so. And this was duly reported to Carroll, and Carroll said, you know, I want Orson, you know, I think he'd be a terrific Harry Lime. Korda backed him up.
Reed is best remembered for The Third Man, and sometimes his other work is overshadowed by this. In Reed's second collaboration with Graham Greene, the story was set in the ruined streets of war-torn Vienna and photographed by Robert Krasker. Orson Welles plays Harry Lime, a black market racketeer who is supposedly dead. His best friend, Holly Martins, played by Joseph Cotten, sets out to unravel the mystery of Lime's disappearance. With Welles' late arrival on set, Reed was able to incorporate his masterful use of improvisation. Reed would seamlessly integrate the real location with the studio set in order to accommodate Welles not wanting to get his hands too dirty in the Austrian sewers.
Even The Third Man, really, if you look at it, is in other hands, it would be a simple kind of thriller. It could be really a kind of B movie, you know. But in his hands, it became this film that transcended its genre.
Obviously, he and Korda had a wonderful working relationship. They were a marvellous creative team.
He was more than a friend, he was also his mentor in many ways.
But it struck me after Alex Korda died that sometimes Carroll lacked a really close creative partner, someone who he trusted completely and who trusted him.
Carroll relied on him as a sounding board for future projects, ideas.
He got offered a lot of wonderful scripts, even in, you know, in the 60s and 70s, and he was uncertain. And you felt that if Korda had been there, or someone else who could fulfill that role, he might have been pushed into doing more films later on in his career.
I hope he'll be better remembered than he has been of late. I mean, I think he's been rather neglected.
I think he's remembered and revered by filmmakers.
If he's up there in the heaven, he can be very proud of the fact that we're talking about him now, even now.